I've been picking up on a theme that has been reoccurring throughout the African continent and in the United States when it comes to Black people and this harmony that we have going on within our communities and within our countries. We're seeing our people turn on themselves and other people that look like us. And it's one of those things that we cannot afford at this critical time as a people, and even as a nation, as a member of the United States. Uh, this benefits nobody. Benefits nobody. But we're going to talk about some similarities that I'm picking up on right here, right now on the Ujama Network about why we are having Black fatigue with ourselves.
Listen, I'm starting to see a narrative of, it's like a hashtag about people wanting to leave the city. They're, fed up with Atlanta. They're not able to do whatever they wanted to do while they moved here. And, I just want to say, go. We wanted you to leave and we never wanted you to come. So go. Be good in your life. Respectfully.
Now, that is Mr. Ryan Cameron. He is the voice of Atlanta, my transplant home. And this is one of those dudes that he lives and breathes and bleeds Atlanta. No, no, I mean, he is literally the voice of Atlanta at the Hawk Stadium. At one point in time, I think he was doing the Falcons announcements over the loudspeakers, as well as institutional radio disc jockey. Just Hot 97 down now. Kiss, I believe he's on. But at any rate, this is Mr. Atlanta himself, and when I can only imagine how after hearing something like that and it hit his ears. I've met this man at events that he did for the radio station. Just one of those dudes that just exudes energy, and that's to hear that come from his mouth as a transplant. It hurts because I know people of which he speaks. These are miserable people who couldn't make it where they were at, where we came from, and can't make it down here either. That's what it is. It's a certain form of failure and a realization of your own personal failure. You was a hater, a straight up hater. And a real G understands that no matter where you go, you're going to make it. That's the difference between us. You know, this is no diss to my hometown because it's the hometown that put that dog in me. And it may be the same for other transplanters. But we came down here for a reason. There were opportunities here that we just didn't have back home. But so when this brother says, we never wanted you, it's time for you to go, go respectfully. You know, we wanted you. We never wanted you here. Yo, I understand what he's saying. I understand what he's saying because that is the utmost disrespect. But Atlanta is not the only place that's going through some stuff like that. Let's take a listen.
I can see some bruises on your face.
Yeah, that was last week. Last week Sunday, I'm in the work, and that guys came there and they said everyone must leave the shop. So I'm taking my bag and I want to go home, and the four guys chasing me. To be frank, they beat me a lot. They beat me. I have more pictures in my phone. They take the stone, they take the stick and the knife. My hands, they cut my hands. So they beat me a lot.
Very, very bad experience in Africa. That is not safe for anybody at all. So I wish for us to be here in Ghana because here is very safe and happy for all Ghanaians. Because what exactly happened to you in South Africa? Were you attacked? Yeah, I was attacked 2020. I forgot the date, but it was 2 years ago. They arrested me and my child.
Now, by no means am I trying to compare the two sentiments, but I want you to understand this. If you are a guest, like I was a guest in Georgia, though my father was born here and grandparents from this state for many generations, it still is me as a transplant coming down here to see about my life. What's happening in South Africa is similar, with people leaving their situations in their native countries, getting down there, getting busy, and you're dealing with people who are native to the land, and they are tired of you for one reason or another. They don't even know you, but they're associating their struggle and their problems with you immigrants. The opposite is being said of these transplants down here who actually come down here and talking greasy. It's like I don't see any of those um, West African and Ghanaian and Zimbabwean or Ethiopian immigrants going down to South Africa and saying, this place ain't shit. It's time to go. They're not saying that. South Africans are kicking them out because they don't want them there. And much like Ryan said, we never wanted you here in the first place. We tolerated you. We want you to experience our city and prosper. But if you're going to be greasy, it's time to go. And I can agree with that. But is that the same thing that's happening in South Africa? I don't think so. I think it's a little bit more to it. And I don't want to dump on South Africa too much because it's not the only nation that's getting in on that. As a result of what happened in this past video, 300 Ghanaians, the first flight to evacuate Ghanaians out of South Africa has already landed. People are taking this very, very seriously. South Africa has already lost several billion rand in lost tourism, lost business opportunities. This is going to have a lasting effect. And understand when you start, making your changes for whatever reason, there's going to be a cost. And this cost, I think, is going to hit them when they can least afford it. Because the underlying issues that led to that anger are still there.
In English, it's a hyperbole, where I think the Ghanaian government really overreacted. I think it's disappointing, man. I think we've had a lot of respect for Ghana as a country and for the people of Ghana. We still do. But for them to react in the way that they did is largely dishonest. Because for them to claim that there were people who were beaten up when they know there were no people beaten up, and for the Minister of Police to even echo that is absolutely ridiculous. What we saw in that video was Victoria Africa talking to someone who had broken the laws of the country, come in illegally, come in legally, and stay illegally, which is something a lot of foreign nationals do. I'm anti-Trump, but asikwazi ukumphuca yonke into sithi ubenda 100%. That's not fair. Because one of the things with Trump are excellent kuzona is making Americans feel how important they are being Americans. Which is something we haven't mastered, Tina, as a country. Tina, we have sacrificed our country so much that everyone thinks they're entitled to this country that people died for. Khona bavele bethi Africa for Africans, umbuzo wami usuke usuwodwa ukuthi iqale nini eAfrica uba for Africans yayingaqali ngani apartheid.
See, you can't have it both ways, Ma. And I'm not going to overreact and get all belligerent when we're talking about your two sentiments here. First and foremost, you're saying that Ghana overreacted. What were they reacting to if this was an overreaction? And then the second video, just as President Mahama said, President of Ghana, after he left the United Nations and spoke at a university, he said that nations were using Trump policy, immigration policy antics with ICE as a blueprint for their own issues with people immigrating into their countries. Now, our immigration policies in the United States are the type that looks at you by skin color, by race, and says you got to go, by your language. I think you're doing the same thing, or at least wanting your government to do the same thing. But at the same time, you get what you ask for. and now you're disappointed in the result, that the Ghanaian people at least took you up on that offer, says, yeah, you don't really want us here. And since we really can't tell the difference between somebody who is here illegally and legal, as you said in your video, because there's so many people just abusing the system, why don't we just do you a favor? We get everybody up out of there. And that's what they did. And that's what they are doing. And you're saying this is an overreaction. This is not an overreaction. This is a direct cause and effect of what we were seeing, what we all have seen. Even if you want to say that these beatings did not happen, I don't know what other reason you would have with people, having some sticks in their hands and stores getting shut down. Don't believe our lying eyes. See, that's another thing that you have in common with Mr. Trump, is that the American people are watching. And that's for your commentary on how the president of the United States makes us feel like Americans. When the hell has that ever happened? I said I wasn't going to cuss, but as an African American, we're not seen as American. We're not. We're seen as African American by the quote American people, right? Same thing with the transplants. People who want to move from America, African Americans who want to move to Ghana or Nigeria. We get over there and we find out quickly we're not African. So I don't have to imagine what that's like to set up your family, set up roots in another country only to be rejected. We don't have to guess at that. We know what that's like. We've been rejected for hundreds of years. Despite that, we're still here. Just as American as the Caucasian Americans would not have us be. We have the same rights. But as you also see, and I'm going to educate you on some more American politics, what is happening in the United States right now and why we are not too focused on what's going on in your country is that our voting districts have been redesigned. This is more problematic to you than you may believe, because without African American participation in the votes, the policies that you need in your country will not get voted on. I can assure you that. We are seeing gerrymandering happening on a scale that we hadn't seen since Reconstruction. I mean, that's the Civil War. Black elected officials are not being allowed to sit in their offices like in Louisiana. We have entire state maps, voting maps, particularly among African American communities, being destroyed, just gone. Gerrymandered to the point where the vote is nullified. And this is a problem because those same groups, those were the ones who were pushing the agendas to getting the aid packages to your countries. Those Americans that you are championing, that Trump is making them feel like Americans, what do you think they're voting for? Do you think they're voting for foreign aid to South Africa? You have a short-sighted version, and I understand the frustration you have with your country just as we have with ours. But I think you're big enough more than you can chew. And now, this is the reaction. This is the FAFO part of what you were asking for. You asked for it, you got it.